Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
Enjoy the show!
So thank you so much for calling Wholesale Hotline.
Wow, that's great.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 263. My name is Brent Daniels, and I'm joined by the incredible Jerry Norton and Jamil Damji. And shortly, Mr. Subto himself, Pace Morby, will be joining us. Welcome, guys.
What's up?
Guys, listen to this. Listen to this. 2021, I'm looking at it here. They call it the peak. Almost 7 million properties sold in 2021. 2022, 4.8 million. 2023, 4.8 million. 2024, 4.7 million. And this year about the same. So from a peak of 2021, almost 7 million down to 4.8 million. Jamil, what happened?
Well, I mean, everything. We had a complete shakeup in the real estate market. Interest rates went haywire. We had the lock-in effect where people with low interest mortgages were unwilling to trade their existing really incredible financing for a move up. So they're locked into their house. You've got inventory shortages, and lending criteria have been difficult post 2008. And so when you bring stringent lending criteria, high interest rates, you've got inventory shortages, you've got the lock-in effect, you have the post-pandemic migration that happened in this big spurt, you got a perfect storm for a sleepy market. And I would say that's exactly what we're in right now. It's asleep. We've got Snow White hanging out right now. She's just waiting for Prince Charming, the Federal Reserve, to come and do something with the interest rate so that she can wake her ass up and get back to work. But you know what? All of those people who are saying the market's going to crash, where's the crash? The market's asleep, but it ain't crashed. And so if you've been telling yourself that BS, that I'm going to wait until the market crashes and we have a big correction before I get involved in real estate because everything gets too expensive right now, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life.
Jerry, when does it change? When does
Well,
needs to happen for more properties to start selling again?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because Jamil's totally right. Like if you look at the stats right now, it's really fascinating to see where we're at with inventory, because I sent you a graph, Brent, if you got that, but inventory is way up from this time last year, but it still hasn't really impacted price. Everything's pretty flat. The growth right now is like 1%, 0.5%. Like it's just stuck right here from year over year. So that's from, this year compared to last year. So even though inventory is going up in a lot of markets, I mean, we're talking in some markets, 40%, California, 49%, Florida, 35%. So California is almost double the inventory today as a year ago, but we're not really seeing that impact prices very much. So is that coming? Maybe. I mean, I'm kind of like watching this a little closely. I'm sort of tightening up the offers a bit. Like I want to be buying right now a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more deeper. We always adjust when cash buyers adjust. I mean, that's our metrics as a wholesaler is once my buyers start dropping their price on what they want to pay for deals, then we all adjust with them, right? Like that's the real metric we want to pay attention to. But I don't see how cash buyers right now wouldn't be looking at the inventory and at least thinking we should see some correction happen here. But I don't know, maybe not.
And Jerry, let's talk about correction, because it's important to arm the audience with the talking points that they need to be good negotiators with either homeowners or real estate agents, right? And so when I think about it, we haven't seen the prices correct yet, but we can project a correction, and we can especially project that correction when we're communicating our desires to an agent or a homeowner. For instance, 2022, when rates spiked, market didn't depress, correction really was like 5% at most. Yet I was able to buy a house that today is worth $2.5 million for $950,000, right? And I purchased that on a projection, on being able to communicate to the real estate agent that, hey, you guys really want to take this chance? You really want to gamble with the market? And I think that if you guys are negotiating right now with homeowners, if you're negotiating right now with real estate agents, you can use the sleepiness of the market. And if you watched any of the No One Left Behind challenge that Pace and I just did last week, and you listened to any of those conversations that we had, I started most of my conversations with real estate agents with, what about this market, huh? You ever seen anything this sleepy? I set the tone. I set the tone of that conversation. I planted the seeds of where I wanted the mind of the agent to be. They all agreed. Not a single agent said, what are you talking about? My phone's been ringing off the hook. They were all in agreement. They were all saying, yeah, it's pretty quiet. It's pretty sleepy. And then I say, well, you got a listing right now that's 160 days on the market. You haven't really done any price corrections. You think it's time? And so now I got an opportunity to really talk reality and sense with the people that I'm negotiating with. So this is important.
Do you think that the interest rates are going to be pushed down? Do you think that it's time for that? Do you think that we've beaten back the beast that is inflation? Because that's what happens, right? Just so that everybody understands, what happens is when they print a bunch of money, people spend it. And when people spend it, that means that prices go up for everything. Why not? People are going to buy it anyway. Let's increase the price on everything, says every business out there, especially businesses that are running off of some debt, right? Because what happens is the central bank increases interest rates, which then goes over to all the banks, all the credit cards, all the lenders. And that means that it increases their interest rate to suck out all of this cash back into the central bank and reduce inflation. That's what happens when they print too much money. Why did they print too much money? Oh, there was a pandemic, apparently.
Yeah.
And so they printed trillions. It all goes out there. Inflation goes up. Central bank goes, hey, prices are going bananas. We need to pull it back in. Let's increase the rates so that it goes right back to the mother, right back to the central bank, so we can sit on all this cash and not put it out there until we're ready to disperse it to you plebs, you plebes. You know what I mean? That's what the central bank does. And they go, ha, 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 turn the vacuum to full power, baby. Yeah. And so they start sucking all the cash out. Inflation goes down, prices stabilize, everything gets calm. So when that happens, Jamil, are we going to see interest rates? Also, the central bank goes, you know what? We've been on full blast for a while. Maybe we should crank it down a little bit, get this thing, get the housing market going. There used to be 7 million houses sold. Now there's 4.5 million houses sold. That might be really good for the economy. This might look good in the papers, right?
I mean, the word on the street from the feds is inflation is still a big priority. They still want to get it down lower. And as long as lowering inflation stays a priority, we're probably not going to see much change in interest rates. So I think we might see a little bump here or there, but I don't think they're going to change much this year, just because lowering inflation is still a big priority.
I think we've got some uncertainties right now with how the trade wars are gonna shake out, because we rely heavily on our trade partners that we're beefing with right now, right? And so, like, how is this all going to play out? Or is the administration's plan to stimulate the economy by reorganizing where manufacturing and other and infrastructure is taking place? to come back to the United States, will that ultimately cause a renaissance in the economy, or will it backfire and we end up having massive inflation because we don't have the product that we need from our trading partners, and the time that it's going to take to create the infrastructure to bring that industry back home will be longer than the administration anticipated, which is going to cause some pain in goods and services. So that's the question. And we don't know the answers. I'm not an economist. I don't know how long it takes to open a car plant. I don't know if that takes 6 months or 6 years. I have no idea. I have no idea how long it takes to move lumber in the lumber industry and steel from one country back home. I don't know how long these changes take. So that's, I think, the real question, right? Hey.
Spoken like a true Canadian, Jamil. I see what's going on there.
No. Here's the reality. Here's the reality. Look, if you go to the United States and talk to Americans who are passionate about this subject matter,
yep,
they're really interested to see how this plays out, and a lot of them support it. If you come to Canada and you ask them their opinion on it, they're completely angered by it, right? They've got a total distaste for what's happening. I'm on the fence, bro. I truly want what's best for the country, and I have no dog in the fight when it comes to one guy looking good or looking bad or whatever it is. I just want us all to do better. I want the entire country to do better, and whatever that looks like, whatever that means, that's what I want, and so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what this looks like. But I'm hoping for the best, man. I truly am. I'm putting positive intentions, and I really hope this plays out the way we want it to.
What are we talking about?
We started out 2021 7 million sales. The last few years 4.5 to 4.8 million sales, right? Yeah. We're talking interest rates, and we're getting to the point here, guys, where obviously this is Wholesale Hotline. How does this affect us making offers? What is going on in the mind of cash buyers? What goes in the mind, in our mind, when we look at an opportunity that maybe we want to flip, heaven forbid? You know what I mean? But, making these decisions and working on the right percentages is why people come to Wholesale Hotline, so that we can give them guidance of, Jerry's been doing this forever. You've been doing this forever. Jamil's been doing, early 2000s, guys, we've been doing this. And that's why I want to bring the big results out, so that you can look into the mind of these investors and yourself, make the right decisions on the percentages that you're offering, because every property sells at the right price. Mm-hmm. At the right price, when a ready, willing, and able buyer is willing to pay for it. And I'm just having a lot of conversations with our cash buyers, and we're going through it, and we're going, okay, what are the percentages that you're looking at for this to make sense to you? And then how do I go out and find other cash buyers that have other exit strategies? How do I find the ones that want to add to their portfolio? How do I find the ones that want to live in a certain area, or their family loves living in a certain area and they love buying up all the properties? We have cash buyers in town that do a lot of that. So, it's just looking at what is the best technique and what we can actually offer property owners in this market, because it is a different market. It's much different. But we've been in this market for a little while now, and it's important to understand what percentages you're using when you're making your offers.
Yeah, check this out. This is super interesting. So back in 2023 or 2024, existing home sales, 4.1 million last year. Mm-hmm. The year before that, look over here, right? 4.8 million in 2003. Guys, we are set to sell 70,000 less homes this year than we did last year. And last year was the slowest home sales in 35 years. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the opportunities are gone and real estate is dead? Or does that amplify our opportunities because we understand creative real estate, we understand off-market real estate, we understand how to negotiate? Where is the opportunity for all of us? I think the opportunity is amplified for people like us. I also think that it keeps a lot of the people in the business that want to get into the business out for the people that take action. Do you guys agree with this?
Yep.
Yeah, barrier to entry. Yeah.
Right. So it is interesting. Last year was one of my best years of acquisition. I know that you guys had some of your biggest, juiciest deals you've ever done. Your average cost or like profit per deal went up. I know Jerry opened up in multiple markets last year. I believe you have like your PPC clients. Is it PPL or PPC?
PPC.
Your PPC clients are killing it.
Yep.
I know Jamil is having had some of his best months last year as well. And so it's interesting. The off-market investors are dominating and winning that choose to get educated and understand this stuff. So shout out to everybody that is here for Squad Up Summit. Yes, exciting this year. Thank you guys so much in the side chat for people talking about that. But you guys are here at Wholesale Hotline. We've been here for 5 years, following the trends, talking about the cool things, the things that are going away. I do know things are changing also in the way leads are being generated and the way buyers are being found. On the drive here, I was talking to my car full of people talking about how I have a virtual assistant company that we turned down an offer to sell 3 years ago for 10 million. And now I'm in the process of selling it for 2 million.
Right.
Why? Why do I have a company that 3 years ago it was
less people using VAs?
There you go.
Yeah.
But why?
Because less people are in this business.
That's a big part of it. But another part of it is that virtual assistants are physical people. AI is now replacing a lot of the activities that our clients were using. So for example, like prop.ai, another company that Jamil and I own together, $275 a month. You can have a full-time AI caller setting appointments for you for $275 a month. My virtual assistant company was $1,400 per VA, and it would generate 80 leads a month for you for $1,400. Now, are those PPC leads? Hell no, not even remotely close to the quality of those leads, right? It's cold calling, it's outbound, whatever. But for like AI callers now, your average cost per lead is about $1 per lead.
Right.
And you don't
they're making the calls?
So like prop.ai, the AI robot, her name is Jen for generate leads. And I know it's
Jen with a G.
Jen with a G. So Jen will generate a lead for you for about $1.
Okay.
So, and that's a quality leads. Like somebody goes, yeah, I'm interested in negotiating. And yes, I'm interested in like a cash offer and I'm interested in a creative offer. Jen is now asking about creative finance offers. Well, what is creative finance? And she'll go through and have a whole conversation with them. Almost as articulated as anybody else that you could probably train. Guess what I don't have to do? I don't have to train, onboard. I don't have to have hoorah meetings every single Friday.
Is this to agents?
Agents and sellers.
But isn't it a bot?
It is a bot.
But Brent, you gotta listen to this.
People know it's a bot, by the way.
Yeah. They know it, but it's so good.
It's also
but I mean, isn't robo dialing like super bad?
They shut that all off. All that crap.
I know the TCPA changed, but that was for getting multiple bids for things. Robo dialing historically forever has been a no-no.
It's been incredible. Like we have a TCPA attorney on the team. So I don't know all the legalities. All I know is
let them deal with it.
Let them deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can sit anywhere, by the way. And
come on in, guys.
By the way, Creative Mike here in the audience just did $177,000 assignment fee.
Come on.
Was it 177,000?
Can you
157? You wired 77,000 to a new member of Subto as a JV partner on the deal.
Can he break the deal down?
Do you want to come break the deal down? Come tell us about the deal.
Come on, prove it. Welcome. Yeah, right in here.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So tell us about the deal.
So I was contacted on Facebook Messenger by somebody that just joined Subto in December, and they actually brought me another deal. They were searching Morby method, and I posted about a Morby method, and that was the first deal he brought me, which is currently we have it in escrow. And then
what is a Morby method?
It's when you purchase a property and the seller you get financing for a portion of the sale. Yep. And the seller finances the rest to you in a second position note. So you're basically zero money in.
So you're getting a financing for the first part of the first lien position?
Yes, that's correct.
And is this they have to own it free and clear?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, so if let's say the purchase price is $300,000, and they have a loan for 170,000. How do you do a Morby method?
Yeah, so we can offer them, 50%. Out of that 50%, the portion pays off the mortgage. The rest they get in their pocket, and then the 50% is financed in the second position seller note.
Got it. So you're getting private money for the first position, and then the seller's financing the second.
You are closing it out as a cash transaction. It's two separate transactions. The first transaction is purchase DSCR loan and a private money. Closing that transaction, there's a recording number. You open a second transaction, and the seller kicks back the amount of money back to you in a second transaction that they are willing to carry. So as far as your DSCR lender or your financing company is concerned, you've closed the transaction all cash.
Right.
Then the second transaction is where the seller creates a second lien position
to pay off your private lender,
to pay off your private money lender, and get you paid a lot of times as well. So you're in the deal, no money out of pocket.
Got it.
That was a great explanation.
Hey,
you were doing great as well.
Bro.
Yeah, you were doing great as well. So, okay, so somebody reached out because of the Morby method.
Yeah. So they reached out because of the Morby method. And then he's like, listen, I got this deal. This lady's going into auction. She's about to get foreclosed on in 2 days. Can you help? I was like, yeah, I can definitely help. So we got the contract signed right away. So I went ahead, reached out to my attorney, and we filed the motion.
You got the purchase agreement signed.
Yeah, purchase agreement signed.
Okay. What price?
We got to sign it at $290.
$290. Okay. What did she owe on it?
92,000.
92,000. They were going to foreclose on 92,000.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we filed the motion 1 day before auction. It got accepted by the judge, and then we went into action. I went ahead and I found the buyer, and she was actually a hoarder. So we cleaned out the entire condo. The condo is by a very prime area in downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
So many buyers would love to buy there.
Sure.
And we ended up finding a buyer and assigned
you
it.
found a buyer in the house after you cleaned it up?
I found a buyer prior to, but he went there and he's like, dude, this is a mess. I want this cleaned up before we close on this transaction. So right away I got on Thumbtack, which is what I use a lot.
Yeah.
I found a junk removal company. They cleaned out the whole condo for $1,700, and it was just filled with junk and feces, cats, everything. So
did you have to get permission to clear it out?
No.
From the owner?
No. From the owner? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the owner, yes. Yeah. It was
guys, make sure you get that in writing. By the way, I don't know if you did. Don't tell me.
How much was that? Because that was a risk on your part to spend money on something you haven't closed on yet. How much did you spend?
So I mean, the risk versus reward was there, Jerry. So we spent $1,700 on the clean out.
Yeah.
I
You guys
like
see
to
that?
get
You
it
guys
right
see
in.
that? Does everybody see that though? He did the trash out because his buyer wanted it cleaned out. He rolled the dice and said, you know what? I'm going to spend this money. This thing could fall apart. We could have a title issue. My buyer backs out. Something happens, but I'm willing to risk $1,700 to get this deal to the finish line. And guys, sometimes you got to step up, right? You got to take that risk. You got to do the hard thing, spend the money. If you want to see these deals get to the finish line, I'll tell you, just to kind of throw this out there, we sometimes will strategically trash out, spend the money and do the trash out prior to marketing, because I can't tell you how much bigger of a fee we get when the cash buyers come in and the trash out's already done. Even though you would think they could see past it, it's just like retail. When they see a broom swept clean house, in their mind, they think this thing must not be nearly as bad as when they see it with dead cats in it and everything else, floor to ceiling of garbage. They think this thing's probably going to be a nightmare. I better budget more for my rehab. Price just went up, right? So it's something that you really want to consider anyways.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of it, Jerry. Yeah, we've been clearing it out before we take pictures, before we get it out there to our cash buyers. It makes a huge
do a title search and make sure you at least have clean title before you start trashing out houses.
Yeah. And make sure you get the permission. That's why I said,
Yeah.
Do it in writing. That way they don't come back and go, oh, you threw out this heirloom that was worth $50,000 or whatever else. You know what I mean? So
it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because the guys threw out her iPad by accident, and so my partner had to go and buy her a new iPad.
So it wasn't just $1,700.
Yeah, I mean a couple. Yeah, maybe another $400. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you got to clear it out.
We got to clear it out. Yep, we got to clear it out, and everything was in escrow, and of course everything seems good. And then day of the closing, her IDs expired.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And so we're my partner's in downtown with her. I'm searching online like DMV locations that are open. Everything's by appointment only, unless you're a senior, and a senior is considered 65. She was 62, so she couldn't go inside any walk-ins. So we find this one DMV location, central downtown Chicago, 100-person line. She gets in, gets a copy of her temporary driver's license. We're like, we're good to go.
Yep.
We're like 2 hours before the appointment, before the notary shows up, and everything. She showed up, it went there, and we ended up signing the deal. And then she's just like, well, where's my money? I'm like, well, it's got to fund first, right? So the buyer's like, well, is she moved out? Is all this like everything okay? We're like, well, no, she's not moved out yet. But she's moving out today. Yeah. And then her money got wired. We got her moved out, and buyer got the property, and we closed on it. And we did a double close. So I did transactional funding on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's great.
So and it's actually
did you do that? Did you do that strategically so your buyer did not see your big fee, or why'd you double close?
Yes. So I double closed because of that, Jerry. And then also I found out later on that the buyer's attorney reached out to my attorney and said, you better not be using our funds to close on your A to B transaction. So luckily I had the transactional funding, and I used paceandabraham.com for the transactional funding.
Nice.
Okay.
So we ended up closing it. We assigned it. We sold it for $460 after paying off the transactional funding, paying closing costs on both sides. We netted $157,000.
Just swing them. Yeah. There you go.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Good for you, Brent. So a couple thoughts here with this. So that trash out's a cool idea. So there's a couple things that we found. If you're willing to take some risk and do some things prior to closing on the transaction, we'll do a trash out sometimes. We'll also do video. Makes a drastic difference in your dispo processes versus just pictures. So add video. And then if you can do the Matterport, if you can do the Matterport and you can provide that to your buyers as well. We found that those three things, a trash out, really good pictures, and really good video, and a Matterport, we've seen 20-30% increases in our fees.
What's the Matterport?
It's where they do the 3Ds of the room so you can see the layouts really well. You literally, if you do a good job, you literally should be able to make it so your buyer does not have to do a site visit and can see everything they need to see to make a decision. The idea behind this is, guys, make it as easy as possible for your buyer to say yes and as hard as possible to say no, and you'll move your deals for a lot bigger fees.
The name of the lender is paceandabraham.com, but I do not fund people outside of our community. So sorry about that. But great question in the side chat. Can you explain wraps in detail, please? Go over to Pace Morby YouTube channel, type in, please tell me about wraps, Pace Morby. That one will give you a good one. Okay. Freaking awesome chat today, by the way. We have somebody in the side chat that says, on your knees. What a great name, by the way. On your knees. If you get none of these. At ease.
Keep going. Keep going, bro.
Jamil knows the rest of the song.
I was reading that name, Pace, and I didn't put it together until you said it. And now I'm like, yeah.
Anyani says, I really like the information, but it sounds like you're speaking Egyptian to us. It is interesting when you're listening to Creative Mike describe that deal. And it's like, yeah, we double closed. We did this. We did it. And you don't know any of this business. It does seem like you're speaking a foreign language.
Yeah.
Amazing. How do I find buyers? How did you find that buyer, Creative Mike?
So I network a lot.
Networking.
And I called one buyer and I asked him, hey, I got this deal in Chicago, and he's a big buyer in the suburbs, but he's like, I'm not interested. So I was like, do you have any friends? Or
Interesting. So he says, Creative Mike says, he calls a buyer, somebody he's done business with before, says, hey, what do you think about this deal? The buyer says, I don't like that location. That's not where I buy. So instead of Creative Mike going, wow, I feel defeated. You told me no. He says, well, do you think you have any buyers that would want to buy this? And he says, yes, I do have a buyer. And you sold it to your buyer's buyer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Buyer's friend, yeah.
I love it. Freaking love it.
Squad
By the
up.
way, Mike, do you want to know what you could do to not have to double close that, save yourself some fees?
Tell him, Jerry.
So here's what I'll do is when I'm about to sign with that buyer agrees on price, you like the number, is I would say, buyer, look, just so you know, I stand to make $150,000 fee on this deal. And if that's a problem, I need you to tell me right now, because I have other buyers ready to go. And I don't want a problem with you at closing table when you see how much money I'm making. Is this a problem? Tell me right now. That's what I do.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
HBI Home Solutions has a great question. This is probably a great Brent question. Brent, would you consider hiring an American expat for agent outreach model, someone from America but lives overseas? Haven't you done that thousands of times?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. You know, it's a lot deeper conversations. I think that there's incredible critical thinking skills that somebody that grew up here has, or at least, you know, some commonality that they can speak to. It works out really well. What do you think, Jamil? You're more of the agent outreach and
Hugh's team is all Vietnamese.
Yeah.
So is the concern, Hugh, that the accent, or what's the concern?
I think the concern is, will they understand? Now, I don't even know if it's the accent. Will they understand the nuance of what they're talking about? You know, it's funny, right? Like, for instance, I'm going to just use an example. So I have an editor who's in the Philippines, and I made this reel where I was talking about my consistency, right? And I was like, I'm a consistent person. I like to eat the same food. I like to wear the same clothes. I like to date the same. I like to kiss the same girl. And so I said that in a reel, right? And so he was editing and putting a little cut to. So he's like, eat the same food. So he put a plate of chicken wings. I said, I like to wear the same clothes. So he put, some clothes. I like to kiss the same girl. Then he puts a picture of my daughter. And I'm like, bro.
I was not expecting you to go that direction.
Yeah, he was just like, he didn't understand what I meant, right? Like, that's what I'm saying, is that they don't get the nuance, the cultural nuance, the language nuance. And so sometimes having that expat can understand, like, oh yeah, he's not talking about his daughter here. He's talking about a woman that he makes out with, not a kid, right? And so that's the thing. And I mean, I'm just using that example because it was just recently happened to me. But when you're doing this with real estate agents, they're going to use words, they're going to use terms, they're going to use lingo, they're going to have cultural nuance. And you got to have somebody who understands it when they're having these conversations, so that they pick up what they're putting down.
Okay, so we've got a great question for Jerry here. Hey, Jerry, has there been an update to your how to calculate the price of repairs on any house in 60 seconds scale?
Yeah, I do a new update every single year. I have not done this year's yet, so I do need to do that. I've had some people asking me about that. Yeah, so I try to update like what the cost of repairs are ongoing every year.
Are you telling me that inflation has changed that?
I got to take a look because I feel like things are pretty consistent from this year over last year. So I got to go back through and just make sure, whatever changes are. This would be like cost of tile, cost of roof, cost of, all the regular things when you rehab. But
I'd like to compare notes with you because I've just recently got some numbers that and you're right, they do seem pretty consistent from last year. Right
Is that
now,
what you're finding?
yeah, right now outside of California and the Northeast, cosmetics are going around $50 a square foot. Full guts are going about $70 a square foot. So stuff's expensive right now, guys. It's not any wholesaler who's like, yeah, rehab is 20 grand, bro. No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't even paint and carpet, and you know what I mean? It's crazy.
You can't.
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of contractors reaching out to me though.
Yeah, they're not busy.
Yeah,
That's for
A
sure.
lot of contractors reaching out. It's really interesting. The bids that used to be 70,000 on houses are now 55, 60. You know what I mean? Some of the labor costs I think are coming down. Maybe not, but that's how I'm feeling it. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah, I'm getting calls. By the way, shout out to Poncho. One of my long-lasting contractors just fell down and died on the job last week. He
What?
Yeah, horrible story. He's a really heavy set guy. He fell down off a ladder and died. He's been with me for 15 years and incredible human being. These guys go out there and work their guts out to support their family and support all of ours. So shout out to all the great contractors out there that stick with us. Amazing people. Anyway, I have contractors that I haven't worked with in probably 10 years texting me like, hey, got any work? I'm like, why do I have you in my phone? Tim, the contractor, what was the last project? And I have to go through my text threads and go, I haven't worked with you in 10 years. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that too. It's not a lot. It's probably one every couple of weeks. I'm getting a text message from people that I'm like, man, I haven't heard from you in 6 months or a year or 3 years or whatever. I'm redoing the pool at my house right now. And I got a quote last year for $65,000 to basically redo the whole pool. And this year my quote is $50,000. So I do see prices coming down. I think it's just people are cutting their profit on they're cutting their margin just to make sure they keep their guys busy because there's a lot less work going on.
Well, and you were in that world for a long time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you scale up as a contractor? And then, you know what I mean?
The best answer to that is get into wholesale.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it's so hard because you're feast or famine.
Yeah.
And here's what's really tough is being a contractor, you get used to paying your subcontractors a lot more money when things are busy. And then when things slow down, you have to go and negotiate with them and go, hey, what I was paying you the last couple of years is not what I can pay you this year. And you lose subcontractors because you can't negotiate them down because you've set, there's an entitlement factor of like, wait, hold on. You've been paying me $2 a square foot for the last 5 years. Yeah, but yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah.
And so being a contractor is really challenging. It's endless negotiations, not only from the people you're doing the work for, but it's also the people that are doing the work for you.
Are you doing more flips now?
Yeah, I'll probably do 20 this year. Not a lot, but
it's nice.
I've had years where we've done 50, and I just feel like 50 a year is a full-blown massive operation. I've found that if I do one every other week or so, every maybe 20 days, I can really only have one or two people managing it and one solid crew. And if I need to, I can, have the great thing about being a contractor, a great thing about being a fix and flipper with less than 20 flips a year is you can have one crew handle that all year long. You're not negotiating on prices. You're not fighting people to show up. They're only dedicated to your projects. And so they're not using your money for other projects. And so Chava, who Jerry's met, Jamil has met Chava. Chava has been with me for 14 years and I don't have to fight with him at all. And so I would say, I just did a whole lesson about this the other day. The hardest thing about fixing and flipping is not getting a good deal. It's getting a good contractor that make sure your good deal stays a good deal. Because you can get a good deal and mess that whole thing up with a bad contractor, like really, really fast. And if you don't know how to manage draw, I'd say the biggest thing is draw systems. People will overpay and the contractor will say, I need to buy materials. Next thing you know, you're $80,000 ahead of them and you're begging them to come to the job. I haven't had that problem in probably 10 years. And it's just because of good, sound relationships.
Jamil, when do you think somebody should not assign a deal, but flip a deal?
Mm.
Where into their career? Where into how many deals should they have under their belt?
I mean, I'm not gonna give a number of deals as a thing because that's a vanity metric, right? I've had months where I did 40 deals and a guy doing 10 made more money than me because I had lower spreads and more volume, right? So if we're gonna talk about the what was really important, I think you've got to have at least in your bank account all of the money that you're going to have to put down, like as your down payment and as your construction, you should have that at least saved up, right? So that if anything goes wrong, you can debt service, you can refinance and hold the property. Here's the one thing that I think tanks real estate investors. They flip too soon. And if you can't handle refinancing a property, if you can't handle keeping that flip, don't flip it. Like you should seriously be looking at every flip. Like, what if I can't sell this? What if I have to keep this? Do I have the financial wherewithal to do that? Can I debt service? Can I hold this in my inventory for 5 years if I need to? If the answer to that question is yes, flip away. If the answer to that question is no, stay away.
It's a really good rule of thumb, I think.
What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think flipping needs to be level 2. I think you need to be really good at transacting first, be consistent with that. I don't think you should really be picking up flips until you're, bringing in a certain level of income that you can easily support your business, your lifestyle, your income. I've certainly remember getting in places like that where I had way too many flips going on and got in over my head and I wasn't sure I was going to make my hard money loan payments and wholesaling saved my life in a lot of those situations. But you want to just really think that through quite a bit because remember, flipping is not consistent because it's very unpredictable. You don't have a whole lot of control over that process of how long it's going to take, how long it's going to be on the market, how quickly you're going to close. So, I mean, we try to estimate some of that, but where you really get your consistent revenue, if you're thinking about generating cash, is with your wholesale business because that's fairly quick. It's fairly predictable. We know that if you spend a certain amount of money and you have a certain skill set on the phones or in person, you can close deals, you can bank on a certain type of fee, you can operate a business at a certain level. It's way more predictable than flipping. Flipping is very unpredictable. And so I like it to be supplemental. I like it to be a secondary strategy. And I know that my wholesale revenue, I can count on it. I can bank on it. It's happening every month. And then when that flip happens, it's sort of like a bonus day or like, yay, we just made 80 grand that we weren't counting on to pay the bills. Like that's how I try to look at flipping.
Okay. So Jerry, while you're cranking out gems, let's ask you a couple questions from Protein Powder. How do y'all get these names? Like your parents are so creative. I don't get it. Hey, Flipping Mastery, I have 2 questions for you. What happens if I get a deal, but it's a bad one? Well, first off, we wouldn't call that a deal. We would call that a contract. Mm-hmm. It's only a deal if somebody's willing to buy it. But it's a bad one and no cash buyer wants to buy it. Would I lose money? And after you answer that question, Mr. Flipping Mastery, I will then ask Jamil the second question.
Okay. Well, so if you contract a deal and it's a bad deal, meaning you go to dispo that deal and you put it out to the market and nobody wants that deal, well, you got some problems, obviously. You're going to have to go back to that seller and you're going to have to do a couple of things. One is perform on the contract, get the money and buy the thing. Or you're going to have to go back to the seller and try to renegotiate the contract. If they don't want to renegotiate, you may have to terminate the contract. If you have earnest money at stake, you may lose that earnest money to the seller. That's how this works. Now, we want to try to avoid that situation as much as possible. It does happen. So it's not the end of the world. Like you're not a complete failure if you overcontract. That's fairly common, especially in the beginning. But guys, it matters more and more, especially today. You've got to be careful that you don't overcontract deals and back out of those deals. And if you do that chronically or repeatedly, then it's a very small community investing and word gets out. And we all know wholesalers that close 1 in 10 contracts. They are the worst of the worst. They are so bad for our industry. And I call that mudslinging, right? They just contract everything at whatever prices. They dispo these terrible deals. Nobody wants them, and they just back out of contracts. Meanwhile, the seller's in the driveway with the U-Haul packed, right? Like, we do not want to be that person. So there's a lot of things we talk about doing to make sure you feel really good about your deal before contracting it. And this is where a community makes a difference. This is where having other successful people, having your cash buyers, maybe that you trust and know and like, have them look at the deal before you contract it. Like, feel really good about the deal you're about to contract before locking it up and putting that seller in possible harm's way where it could negatively affect them in some way. You want to avoid that.
Yeah. My first 100 deals, I never got a contract that I didn't already have a buyer lined up for.
Yeah. Smart.
I still I rarely ever cancel a contract. I signed a deal today, a 2.75% Subto deal. Jamil and I locked it up last week during the No One Left Behind Challenge. Had a blast with you, brother. I love you.
So good.
And we wired $5,000 non-refundable EMD because I know who the buyer is, right? And I have the confidence in who that buyer is. So when I first got into the business, it was people like Brent, people like Jamil, that I would go to and say, hey, I've got a deal. I've got an appointment. Here's what I would do. I would text Jamil almost every appointment I went on for a couple of years. I still text him. I asked him last week on a deal, Sheridan, 3821 West Sheridan. I asked him, what do you think about this deal? Yeah. Jamil was my buyer for my whole entire several years of getting into this business. I would go on appointments knowing what to lock it up at. Why waste my time negotiating with a seller? I pretend like every seller is my mom, my sister, my cousin, whoever, and I want them treated the same way that I would want my mom treated. I want somebody walking in there having the full intention of honoring the contract. And Brent has thousands of these stories where he's solved sellers' problems that wholesalers bailed on the seller last minute. So does Jerry, so does Jamil, and so do I. I had a deal 4 years ago where a seller was introduced to me, and somebody brings the lead to me and says, this lady is in a bad situation and she's sleeping on the floor in her house and she has no furniture and she's sleeping on a sleeping bag in her house. I'm like, okay, I would love to understand the situation that led to that. I called the lady at 11 o'clock at night, her time, midnight, or like almost midnight. And she picks up the phone. I said, hey, my name is Pace. And she says, hold on a second. Let me get up out of bed. And I hear her unzip her sleeping bag so she could sit up. And I asked her, I still own this house to this day. What's going on? She says, well, I was talking to this investor and I'm in a contract with him. And we were supposed to close escrow 3 days ago. And I moved all my furniture to the other side of the country. I spent all my last dollars on a U-Haul van, and I basically timed everything perfectly so I could get the money on the day we close escrow, have money for a flight to fly out to my daughter's house, live with her for a couple of months to get set back up. But now all my stuff is gone. It's literally in Arizona, and she's in North Carolina. And I'm like, so you're sleeping in a sleeping bag? She goes, I had to borrow my neighbor's sleeping bag from their kids because I have literally no money to buy groceries or anything else. Everything in my house has been moved. I'm like, where's the investor? She says, I can't get a hold of him. We were supposed to close 3 days ago. So what do you guys think happened? It was a wholesaler that went out and contracted a lady that had no ability to sell the deal. Mm-hmm. Guys, this is a very simple solution. You find the buyer first and you go. Some people call that reverse wholesaling. That is how I started wholesaling. I went to people like Jamil. I said, Jamil, I have an appointment to talk to this house on 123 Main Street. What is a good number to contract? I didn't learn how to comp. I didn't learn how to underwrite properties when I first literally did 150 deals before I even took a minute to learn how to comp. Think about that for a second. I relied on collaboration with my buyer, which would be a Jamil or somebody else. And so for those of you guys that are overly worried about doing wholesale, I would start by getting a buyer in your local market. Okay. If you guys want a list of buyers, I'll give you the top 5 buyers in every state. If you just DM me, I will literally give you the top 5 buyers in every state. If you just DM me buyer. If you DM me the word buyer, I will tell my team to give you guys the top 5 buyers in literally every state. And you can just text them and go, I'm going on an appointment. What would you pay for this? Now, I know not everybody started that way. Not everybody has a genie in their pocket like I did with Jamil, but I got really lucky. And I look at other people, I'm like, why would you do it any other way? So, Jamil, go ahead, Jerry.
I was just going to add to that. I would at least, if you're not 100% confident in the deal, I would just set really good expectations with that seller. I would say something like this. I'd say, look, I really want to be at 100,000. We're stuck at 120. I think that might work. I don't know for sure. I'm going to need some due diligence. Give me 3 days. Give me 5 days. During that 5 days, I'm going to really get my head around the condition of the property. I'm going to get my investors and my contractors and my partners. I'm going to come over here with a small army, and I'm going to really see if I can make that number work. If I can't for any reason, I'm going to let you know right away that I can't make that number work, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. At least then you're not leading them on that, oh yeah, I'm a buyer for sure, I'm going to buy. And then they start making plans. So, they may agree to that. They may be like, no, if you're not for sure, I don't want to even tie this up. But at least now you've been open and honest and upfront with them about where you're at with buying that property.
And I'd be curious to know how many buyers they have spoke to. And when you do speak to a buyer, what price would they buy it at? That's really important information to know, as opposed to, no, I just don't want this deal, or just radio silence. If you actually call them up and have a conversation with them and text with them and open up dialogue with them and actually respond to their text quickly and have a good energy about you, people will respond to you. They will. And they'll let you know what price makes sense. And then once you have that, at least you have something to go back to the seller and say, hey, listen, I can make it happen, but it has to be at this price, right? And also, how many of you talk to? I mean, your handle is protein powder. You know what I mean? Like, and a little bit of shade. And trust me, I love protein powder. So like, I love the name.
We know.
I mean, I'm eating it as we speak. No, but like, put your name on here, guys. There's 1 million people that you can connect with in the chat. There's 500 people here that you can connect with in the chat, that somebody's in your market, and they will help you evaluate your deals before you go and put somebody under contract. Now they can't sell to anybody else. You put somebody under contract at a price that what doesn't cause it to sell. So now they're stuck in this deal. So what are you going to do? That you avoid all of that if you just connect with somebody squad up in the chat here. And I highly recommend people use their real names.
DM Pace on Instagram. You guys keep putting buyer in the chat. Go to his IG at Pace Morby.
Yeah, you got to tell them where.
This is why robots are taking over the world, guys. Okay. Landon Moore, a good friend of mine.
That's right. Prop.ai, guys. Prop.ai.
Landon Moore, good friend of mine right here, good friend of the show, leader in our community. He's somebody that does a lot of deals in 3, 4, maybe 5 markets. He's right here in the side chat with his real name. If you're collaborating and squatting up with people like Landon, you just text him and go, hey, Landon, I've got an appointment with such and such. Will you help me sell this? And if so, what's the price I should lock it up at? There's a lot of those people in the side chat right now. You got a lot of leaders in our communities that are in here. By the way, somebody asked me earlier, what is the price of Jerry Norton's mentorship? And my answer is 1/3 the price it should be. This guy should triple his prices. I learn something from him every day. Jerry, I heard you keep buying animals for the farm, bro. We need to hear more about this.
He got 2 Indian runner ducks, dog.
Yeah.
Bro, it's crazy what's
going on. I have a very diverse farm. Yeah.
I'm texting your wife about it, and she's like, I can't keep up with this farmer boy I married because you've just built a farm, and now you got new. What kind of dog are you looking for right now?
I like the Great Pyrenees. They're really good, like herd dogs. You got to leave them out with your animals.
What are you going to herd?
Cows, sheep, goats, all of it.
Children.
Ah, dang it.
Throw the kids out there,
Jamil got me.
We're on the same wavelength, Brent. That's a good one.
I got you, bro.
But Pace, I named my Indian ducks Jamil and Saba.
Hilarious.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Bro, they're going to be making babies. That's crazy. Saba's not on here, is she?
No, but
Saba.
I'll tell her to watch.
Jerry, can I spoil a surprise? Because I don't want to. As a man, I don't like it when people buy me things that I can buy myself. Okay. You, my friend, are coming to Squat Up Summit and speaking a couple of different times on stage. We have speakers that we are paying. One of our speakers we're paying $500,000 to.
I know. It's not me.
It's not you.
Really?
Just so you know.
Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not cheap.
$500,000.
400 grand plus travel.
Yep. Private travel.
And how long does he speak?
He'll hang out. He'll speak for about an hour. I just hung out with him at Dean's house, Dean Graziosi's house a couple weeks ago, and chatted with him. He's like, I'll take photos with everybody in the room for you. I'll hang out with people. So he'll probably be there like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jerry is coming because he's one of my best friends on the planet, and he's speaking at Squat Up Summit for Jamil and I. And instead of paying a speaking fee, we wanted to give you a gift. And I started texting your wife.
Pace, you are putting my whole family up in the hotel, and that's no joke.
Yeah, that's why
the whole family.
It was like 17 rooms, bro. We had to like book out. It's crazy.
Not that many.
Jerry, we are so grateful for you. So my team is internally, same thing with Dean Graziosi. Dean Graziosi is a good friend of mine, and so he sends me a text. He goes, "I'm paying for my own jet, my own flight. I'm charging you guys nothing for Squat Up Summit. I'm so excited." So my team is buying him a vintage American flag that was flown over the beaches of Normandy. So like a really historic, expensive flag. And so my team was like, "What should we get Jerry as a gift?" And I'm like, they started naming things. I go, no, guys. This guy is a full-on farmer. We need to buy him some cattle or a dog. I'm like, no, you can't buy a man a dog. The man needs to choose his own dog. We should buy him bunnies. So we've been looking up Flemish bunnies and cattle all day long.
Bro, are you going to get him one of the big giant bunnies?
We want to buy him like 5 bunnies, the type of bunnies that I got. I helped rehome on my first deal, but I don't want to like litter your farm with a bunch of animals that we think you need. What kind of animal do you think we could buy for you that you would appreciate that you aren't already planning on buying?
I don't know.
Guys, put it in the chat, guys.
Have you seen those Highland cows?
Yes, that's on the list. We found a Knoxville breeder of Highland cows, and we found some really cute ones. And maybe we just send we send you and your family over to pick them out, so we can just write the. I don't want to pick out an animal and be like, "Hey, here's an animal with a personality that we picked for you."
Those are cool. Those
Highland cows. The hairdos on those Highland cows. Bro, there's one like not too far. I think there's a breeder here in Calgary, but then you'd have to pay the tariff. So you want to definitely get them in America.
See, Connor says, buy the man some turkeys. Well, Anne-Marie told me you guys went and bought 5 turkeys already.
Yeah, get him a rhinoceros.
Should we get him a zebra? Honestly, you know what I think we should buy this man? We should buy you a side-by-side. We should buy you like a 6-seater side-by-side. You can cruise around your farm. We should buy something like that doesn't have a personality. You can jump off cliffs and not be worried about your 10 kids beating it up.
Make sure you can roll it because we rolled yours.
Oh, that's okay. It's still.
How many tractors do you have?
What's that?
How many tractors do you have?
We don't have a tractor yet. We do have a side-by-side, but we don't have a tractor yet.
Just saying.
What kind of tractor we need?
What kind of farm is this with no tractors?
Pace, I don't need, honestly, Pace, just coming and spending time with you and the community and Jamil and everybody is a huge blessing to me. I feel so grateful to be in that room. I don't need anything. I feel I need to be bringing something to you. I mean, you've blessed my life and Jamil in so many ways. I'm happy to come and.
Nope, you're getting a giraffe and it's going to crap everywhere. It is going to crap all over your property. This giraffe eats like 60 pounds of nonsense every day, and it comes out the other end, Jerry. And that's what you're going to deal with. That's what you're getting.
I think this is a good
squat
suggestion.
Up, bro.
Jerry, I actually think, I'm not joking. I think llamas actually would be really nice for you guys' little farm.
Llamas are cool. Yeah.
Okay. Should I just keep texting Anne Marie and plotting for and behalf of you, or what?
She's trying to slow me down. She wants me to slow down the whole farmer thing, but I got a barn going up. I got fences coming in. Yeah, I'm like all in.
I saw the barn. It's freaking cranking, bro.
Anne Marie has this backward, because the more animals you buy, the more rooted you are in the mainland, the less and less and less likely you are to ever say, let's go move to Timbuktu for taxes. We got to change her perspective, because
you better remind her of that.
When she realizes that these animals are rooting you there, she's going to be all for it.
Jerry,
the real commitment is a milk cow, because you have to milk that sucker twice a day, no matter what.
Don't do it, Jerry.
Should we get you a milk cow?
No, don't get me a milk cow. Not yet.
Here's what we'll do. We will find a breeder, and we will let you and your kids go pick out the Highland cow, and we will write the check just as a thank you. I do not want to pick out a soul that's going to live on your farm that you did not pick out yourself. So if we do an animal, maybe we just do a tractor.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, like, your kids would just dig holes all over that freaking farm.
Great.
They'd be up and down.
Jerry, can you have your next fast track event at the farm? The animals deserve to be flipping geniuses.
That would be fun. Yeah.
When's your next event, Brent?
I've got some events here in my office. I got an action workshop on the 15th and 16th of May. And then I've got my PPC crew coming in, the people that work with our PPC agency coming in the 1st and 2nd of May.
How do I get into Brent Daniels' office and be part of this event?
Well, it's just for the Rhino Tribe members. So that's Wholesaling Inc. coaching with me. That's the action workshop. And then pay-per-click guys, or anybody that uses our agency.
And what is the name of your agency?
Talktopeople.com. Talktopeople.com.
Love it.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, we got a foreclosure question.
2,000 to 10,000 for a Highland cow. Okay.
Yep. He's worth it.
That's the cost, of course. It's about that a year.
Dude, that's like
up.
1/3 of a wholesale deal. That's easy. Was there a point in your guys' wholesale career where you started dividing things in your life as a wholesale deal? Like, oh, I want a new car. That's just 2 wholesale deals.
Yeah, definitely. Currency is wholesale deal. Yeah.
It literally, my wife and I, when I don't know, this probably 7 or 8 years ago, I was like, we need to get this house. She's like, that's an extra blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sweetheart, that's half a wholesale deal a month. That's nothing.
Mine was, I could get out of debt with 3 more wholesale deals.
Mine was, oh my God,
this judgment off my back.
Cost me 1,000 wholesale deals. No problem.
That's it.
Mine was, should we have another kid? That's just another whole deal.
Oh, per month,
a week,
freaking month,
a day.
How many eggs are you guys consuming on a weekly basis right now?
Oh my gosh, we go through. I'll bet you we go through 5 or 6 dozen eggs a week. We eat a lot of eggs.
That's about 200 eggs a month, something like that.
Yeah,
love it.
We need a lot.
Okay, foreclosure question. Okay, let's go to Brent for this one.
Yep.
Craig Kiefer. By the way, kefir is an amazing type of milk you should be producing on the farm.
On the farm.
Spelled a little bit different. I have a foreclosure in the works, and the agent's main concern is the seller will be homeless and needing a small living situation. How would you guys handle this for her? It's in Surprise, Sun City, Arizona. What would your team do, Brent?
Beautiful. She'll find a way. She'll find somewhere to live.
I love that. That's actually the right answer.
She will find somewhere to live, or she won't sell the property. She's not going to go through the whole transaction to be on the streets. There's just no way. There's no way that the seller would do that. Why is the property on the market? Is the property? It sounds like it's on the market because it has an agent. So if it has an agent and they're trying to sell the property now, is it a situation where they're going for like a sub 2? And that's the only offer that you can make there. My advice, maybe it's different. I'd love to hear your opinion. I think if you work with anybody in foreclosure, they have to leave the house. Yes. They have to leave.
I agree.
You don't rent it back to them. There's none of this nonsense where you give them equity over time, but you have the deed and they think that they didn't sell the house, but you did sell the house, and all of this other shenanigans. If it is a foreclosure, 1, can they borrow money to get caught up? Okay. 2, are they able to, work with their bank and get it, some sort of loan modification? 3, do they have a bankruptcy attorney that they want to talk to? 4, here's your cash offer. 5, sub 2, but you're out. 4 and 5, they're out. You're out. unless you go 1, 2, 3, and that's fine. They can get it caught back up. They can do a loan modification, or they can, work with a bankruptcy attorney to do that stuff. Great. They can stay in the house. If not, they're out. And this is what's catching people up. This is what is screwing up everybody. Is people are trying to do shenanigans and keeping people that are in foreclosure in the properties because they don't want to move and they don't want to have the hard conversation that says this is a chapter in your life, flip it over, move to the next place and start over. Because they keep
Brent,
they use their equity. These people don't know they sold their house, and then all of a sudden, investors take advantage of people at their most motive, at their most distress, at their most. That's the headline. That's the headline.
Yeah. And we talked about it last week too, Brent. Do not say that you are a foreclosure specialist or a foreclosure expert or any of that language.
Or that you're working with their lender.
Or working with the lender. Don't say that. And don't say our number one priority is to keep you in the property. Don't say that unless you have a history of keeping people in foreclosures. Do not say that. That's the kind of stuff that's going to get you in trouble, because if you don't have a history of doing that, then that's misinformation and you're going to get in trouble for that.
Yeah. The answer that we do for our foreclosure sellers is that we go find an apartment for them and we pay the first and last month's security deposit so they can move into an apartment.
That's it right there.
And we go and help them out $5,000. That's usually it. We pay for that out of our assignment fee or some of our profits. And when you get a little bit more scaled, you can even borrow that from somebody like a Jerry or a Jamil. Like, hey, I need $5,000 to pay for this thing, and I'll pay you out of my wholesale fee. Like, that is a gator deal, right? You can go and help somebody out with helping out with their seller's moving costs. One of the top cardinal sins of creative finance is keeping a seller in a house after you bought it on Subto. It's a cardinal sin. Even at a very high level, I will rarely ever do it. Here's what I will do. If I do it, I actually talk to the seller and I have a conversation and I say, obviously we're going through title, we're going through escrow. There's recorded documents. I record a Zoom of them and me explaining, here's the transaction. I then will set up a lease agreement with them. That is a lease that's 5 months long that says, or whatever, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. So that I can go to the police or I can go to the sheriff and say, this person is violating my agreement and I'm evicting them. You will have a seller at some point. It will catch up to you. It will be a problem. Get the seller out of the house and do whatever you possibly can to help them find a place to stay. The best thing for us, because I don't know their family situation, but I will always ask the agent, where are they moving once we buy the house? And the agent says, well, I don't know. Well, we should figure that out. And
they're an agent.
I know
that's their whole job.
Well, we know, but that, if agents did their job, we would have 30% less opportunity in the world. So for us, I look at that as an opportunity to go, well, why don't we take a little bit of your commission, a little bit of my profit. Let's get them a place to first and last month security deposit, move them in. And now my conscience is clean. But for the most part, I don't really worry about it too much. If they give me a very vague answer, like they'll figure it out, I go, perfect. Sounds good. Boxes checked. I don't need to know the address. I don't need to know who's moving them there. Don't get overly involved in it. Brent is so freaking right about this. We have a massive lawsuit going on right now in the state of Arizona. The Attorney General, by the way, super excited. We have gotten multiple people that work at the Attorney General's office have said yes to being interviewed on Wholesale Hotline in the next 30 days. Which is going to be great. I also have the Attorney General, the old Attorney General of Utah. He retired in January. So he was the Attorney General in Utah 4 months ago. He wants to come on here and talk about best practices when it comes to foreclosures and wholesalers and what his attorney's what the AG's office looks at when it comes to off-market investors and wholesalers, best practices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have a massive lawsuit going on in the state of Arizona. It is public information, so I'm not slandering anybody, but there are people that are being accused. It is alleged because it's not been proven, but it is. See what I'm doing? I'm being an adult and I'm saying alleged.
This is great.
I know.
Look
growing
at
up,
you,
I'm
bro.
getting better. It's
this
that protein
is wild.
powder.
Jamil,
protein powder.
Who is this guy?
So
yeah,
these guys, Sam and Cameron, you guys will see them in the lawsuit. You can Google it right now. Attorney General sues investors. Just Google it and you'll find the article. What these guys did we knew about as investors in this market for over 8-9 years. We've been waiting for the attorney general to go after these guys. We have not been able to say their names outwardly because there wasn't a public lawsuit against them. Now there is. These guys were saying, I'm a foreclosure expert. I'll help you stay in the house. And these sellers had no idea these guys were buying their freaking houses from them and keeping them in the house. They were doing all sorts of
charity.
Yeah, a fake charity. I think the one that was the most frustrating thing that they did, I actually don't really believe that the lawsuit really addresses this much. But what they were doing to us as investors is these guys were going around locking up contracts at any freaking price with sellers in foreclosure, going and filing a memorandum, a notice of interest, and then walking away from the transaction, waiting for me. Back in 2017 through 2020, I had a door knocking team, and I ran into these guys almost every single week. A seller would say, I already sold my house to this guy, Sam or Cameron, and we're closing escrow in 2 days. And we learned that these guys, Sam and Cameron, would just bail on these sellers, and their whole mode of operation, their whole entire thing that they were doing is they were getting sellers under contract, putting a memorandum on the house, and forcing Jamil, Brent, and myself, Jerry, I don't know that you were in the market here in Arizona at the time. They would force us to have to go and pay their memorandum off, even though, let's say the seller's ARV was 300, they'd go contract these sellers at 350 and then require us to pay them $5,000 to remove the memorandum so we could close the house.
We've talked about it for years. Yeah.
And these guys finally are getting to. I've gotten people texted me. I'm sure you've been texted 1,000 times over this. And I'm like, yeah, we've been waiting for these knuckleheads to get sued. It will catch up to you. And these guys are bad actors. We've known about them for a long time. But one of the biggest things they did is exactly what Brent was talking about, is being insensitive to people that are in foreclosure and taking advantage of their situation.
Everything multiplied by 0 is 0. You have to be honest, be a truth teller, truth seeker out there. And listen, if you do, and I think that's a great point. If you do, if the owner has equity and they want to stay in their property and they want you to catch them up on the mortgage and they want to stay there for a little bit, you better have it on camera.
Yep.
You better have it on Zoom or at an attorney's office or somewhere where it is all disclosed, because it is the lack of disclosure that is rampant in our industry. And that's the problem that I think that the AGs have.
Agreed. 100%. And what was happening, actually, one of our attorneys, collective attorneys, have gotten roped into this. I had a conversation with him today. His name's Sean. I won't say his whole name, but you guys can read about it in the lawsuit. These guys were taking his contracts and changing the contracts and amending them without the attorney knowing about it. And it roped in their attorney. It roped in title companies. I mean, it's roped in a good, massive swath of people that these guys are taking down with them. Now, will they go to prison? That's a good question. I think these are civil.
It's civil. Yeah.
They're civil charges, so they're going to get sued. They're going to get sued. Now, here's what's interesting. This has been such a long time coming.
But
do you guys remember what happened?
That law enforcement PACE isn't investigating it. Just so I got some clarity on it. It is civil right now, but it doesn't mean that law enforcement isn't investigating a potential criminal matter. Go ahead.
Do you guys remember? Now, Jamil, you probably know this better than maybe Brent. I don't know. This has been such a long time coming that Cameron, actually one of the guys that's named in a lawsuit, actually was brutally beat up on the streets of Scottsdale and actually had brain damage from being beat up so badly. Do you remember when this happened?
Yeah, you got curb stomped.
He got curb stomped for mouthing off to somebody in downtown Scottsdale, allegedly. And this guy hasn't even been really investing the last 3 or 4 years. They're finally just catching up to him. But Sam, his partner, has been still deploying all these same tactics. And Sam went out and allegedly opened up in 5 or 6 different markets because he was being chased here in Phoenix, Arizona. So this kind of stuff happens all over the country. And sadly, it gives us wholesalers a really, really bad name. I do not blame agents for hating us, because when you have knuckleheads like that's the brand, that's what gets blasted all over the internet. I don't think I blame them. Do you guys blame them?
I don't.
Well, and the other thing is, when you get a deal, I think it kicked off a wave of memorandums in our market, and I think throughout the country, because once you put a deal out to a cash buyer list, or they see it somewhere, they hear about it somewhere, they're on Spencer Caldwell's list or whatever that has all of these properties, then they go straight to the house and door knock and start offering $50, $60, $100,000 more to the property owner to try to cancel the deal, just to put a memorandum on it. And I'm not saying these guys, but just in general, this is the technique that has been going on with some people that you know really well, was doing this a lot for a long time. And it's just, I think that really kicked off a lot of the memorandum craze, and that's a whole bag of tricks as well.
Yeah, there was a guy.
But if you guys look at this though, here's what's interesting is they're being accused of all kinds of stuff. But some of the things that they're being accused of, which are falling under the Consumer Fraud Act, now we'll see if that flies in court, if it goes through that. But some of the things that they're being accused of, as an industry, we're in the gray area, and we're seeing these things happen very regularly and are almost commonplace in our industry, like low earnest monies, long close periods, all these things that I think we need to really tighten up. We got to clean that up, because that's now getting looked at heavily, and we're under the microscope right now. We got to, wherever the line is, we got to stay clear away from that and not go into that.
I think this is my personal opinion, Jerry, you can tell me you think I'm wrong. I think it's an impossible task to police wholesalers who are it's a natural personality type, including me, that hates authority, hates having somebody tell me what to do. And that is the typical person that we are asking to be good rule followers.
Yeah. A bunch of renegades, cowboys.
Bunch of renegades. It's the advantage of wholesale, but also the disadvantage of the type of people that it attracts, or the people like, no, how dare you tell me what to do? Jerry, you're telling me I got to follow rules? No, that my cutting advantage is
I don't
long escrow and this, that, and the other, and memorandums. There was a guy named Chris. I won't say his last name. He used an ocean animal as his last name for a while. Do you guys remember this guy? And he would charge people $25,000 for a 2-day event to teach them how to get a seller under contract at a really high price, and then drop them the day close of escrow and renegotiate $100,000, $200,000. That was his literal entire business strategy, was that. And you'd look at these events he was having, 200 people were going and learning from this guy. Now
he just got arrested, actually.
He got in trouble.
Wasn't he just arrested, or was that a civil thing?
I don't know. I blocked him like 3 years ago on social media. I didn't want to see any more of his crap.
Yeah, I think he just was arrested.
All I'm saying is that there are people out there, like what Brent is talking about, this memorandum wave, and like the way people were negotiating, it came from these bad actors, and then they were teaching other people how to operate. Like who has a wholesale podcast for over five years? Nobody besides us. Everybody else comes in, they leave. They come in, they leave. They come in, they leave. They're fly by night for the most part. And sadly, that is our industry. I'd say 85% of our industry are knuckleheads that don't want to follow rules.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Yep.
Kind of on that same, bad actors, something we're experiencing.
Come on up. We got an awesome audience.
Hey, by the way, this is Slater. It's not a caterpillar. It is his mustache.
It's there. Something, we really cherish in our business, but we're kind of struggling with is JV and having bad actors on that side. For instance, we had a deal this past week with the wholesaler we've worked with a couple times, and Jake was selling it, and he asked him, "Hey, are you direct on this?" And he said yes. And Jake gets it sold for $20K more than they were looking for. And now it's hang on, hold on. I got to get this, I got to get that. And we try to be nice about it, but we're also, we understand that, they're also working the deal and this and that. But as I was telling him today, there's never going to be a better situation for us adding $20K on a deal and getting it sold at that, adding on top of their price and getting it sold, and then still not being able to do anything with it. It's just a little bit frustrating. So I guess, is there steady, fast JV rules you guys have when you're working with other wholesalers and
that's a Jamil.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Slater?
Hey.
So, you typically when you're doing a JV and you've already had a track record with someone and they went well the last couple of times, you give them the benefit of the doubt, right? And so it's tough when you get kind of strung along and quite obviously jerked around in this deal. I asked some specific questions that let me know if somebody's direct or not on a deal. One of them being, what is close of escrow? When is the inspection period up? And what's the title company? And if the answer to that question is, hold on, I got to ask my partner, they're not direct.
Yeah.
If it's here, let me just check the contract and they give you the details, they're direct. And so I'll ask some telling questions to give me a clue as to what's going on here.
Do you ask for a copy, Jamil? Do you ask for a copy of the original?
Yeah. I will only when we assign, though. Typically, here's the problem with wholesalers, right? Is if the more things you ask them to do before you sell the deal, the less likely they are to do the work, right? So that if you're like, send me the contract, sign my option, I don't know what it is, but it's our industry. We just have this visceral rejection of work sometimes. And so they're like, I don't want to do that. I just sell the deal. Just let me know when you've sold it. Well, this is the reason why we've got to do things like that, because you guys, jerk people around. And then Slater is out there spending money. It costs thousands of dollars. In case you guys didn't realize, when you're a true JV company with a big list and you're sending an email out to a massive list and you've got your staff working a deal, for instance, at my office on a Phoenix or a Florida deal, the cost for me to market a deal is around $2,000 in manpower, email expenses, all of the things, tech, all of that. It's about $2,000. So I'm spending money to market this deal. I'm not going to market your deal and lose $2,000 on a lie, right? And so it's you got to be able to communicate that with people, but also, the reality is this guy is fooling around with you, right? And so I would have the straight up conversation with him and say, listen, we really like you. You've been a good person to work with in the past. The way this is going right now, it's going to tarnish our relationship and we won't be able to do business with you in the future. So I just want to, make sure this doesn't happen. Can you sign the assignment so we can get this one done? I would just put it on them. Okay. Put it on them, because if they're not going to play by the rules, then don't play the game with those guys. Because that's somebody who doesn't value their relationship. They value the extra $1,000 or the extra $5,000. Or they lie. Yeah. And I don't want to deal with a dishonest person or somebody who's going to put a couple of bucks ahead of the relationship. That's just not my vibe, right? And so I would have the honest conversation with him later and just let him know this behavior right now is going to tarnish our relationship. I don't want that to be the case. So let's just say what we're going to do and do what we're going to say. Do what we said.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep, that helps. Thank you.
Awesome. Can before we close this out, this is something that's really been running around in my mind, and I would love to get your guys' take on it. In that same indictment, it talked about that they are saying that if you let properties go to foreclosure, homeowners will net more because they'll get the excess proceeds from what they owed and what it sold for at the auction. And they're saying by stopping the foreclosure, you are equity stripping that owner.
Interesting. I mean, if you look at the data on the equity that is after the sale,
yep,
no seller even knows that that's a thing.
Yeah, it's called an overage, and they don't even know about it. Yeah, it's unclear.
No clue.
What happens to the overage if they don't know about it?
It go eventually it goes back to a state fund or whatever. If it sits there for a while, but nobody's informing them, no one's showing them how to go get it. No one. There's a whole strategy in real estate how to go do overages.
What's crazy? So we've got about 200 people in Subto. I taught them this about 3 years ago, and that's all they work on is wait for people to get foreclosed on. Well, here's the process. The process is you work the foreclosure while it's in the process. And if the sellers go and, put their head in the sand, which happens a lot in Maricopa County, we have about 3 to 4 people get foreclosed on a daily basis. So
out of 2 million homes though,
right?
Out of 2 million houses.
Yeah.
2 to 3 a day.
2 to 3 a day. Yeah.
It was thousands back.
Yeah, it's nothing compared to what it used to be. So what happens is now the house gets foreclosed on. Let's say that they owe 300,000 and somebody buys it for 375.
Mm-hmm.
Now the trustee will essentially hold that $75,000. The state will hold that.
The state or the trustee? Because
the trustee is who
like an attorney
goes through the process, and they're in charge of the total process.
Yeah.
Essentially, what it is they are under the management of the state because it's on the county courthouse steps.
Yep.
And so the trustee is the party that actually manages. They're the representative of the bank.
Right.
And so what ends up happening is the $75,000 sits there basically in limbo for about 6 months, depending on the state. It's a little bit different. Every state's a little bit different. And the strategy, okay, is I'm going to reach out to the seller and go, you have $40,000 sitting at the state right now, right? And the seller's like, what do you mean? We're like, I can go get the 40,000 for you. Let's go sign a document. And this is perfectly legal. You can go and get that $75,000. And the way you get it is you tell them, hey, I'm going to get you paid this much money, but I'm going to make this much money by going and getting it. Sellers have zero clue. And the biggest reason why the seller has no clue is because they turned their freaking phone off 5 months ago. They stopped checking their mail a year ago. Sellers in foreclosures have no clue. They don't read anything. They're going through a stressful situation. And so if you look at the actual data of people who get foreclosed on, that the overage actually goes back to the seller, I would tell you it's probably less than 10% ever goes back to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
That is an absolute.
And then it goes to the state?
Goes to the state. Yeah, it goes to a state fund. It is an absolute lie for them to say
and
that.
they keep that list hidden. They keep that list hidden. They don't tell them about it. They don't say, "Oh, by the way, here's your equity. Here's a check for you." They don't do that. You got to go through a process to claim it.
Yeah. So let's say that they owe. So Mr. Pickell, John Pickell is asking a question. My Michigander friend out here. These guys do big deals. The Pickells, the Pickell jar, as I like to call them, Justin and John here. So a seller owes $300,000 to the bank. The bank says, I'm going to hire a trustee because you are not paying your bills. I'm going to foreclose on you. They go put it on the county courthouse steps. Somebody comes along and buys it for $375,000. So another investor buys it for $375,000. The bank takes the $300,000 because that's all they're owed, right? That's their credit bid. It's called a credit bid. They can't go and say, oh, the bank gets $375,000. That's not how that works. The bank can only charge reasonable fees. So let's say I'm a private money lender and I'm in second lien position. Same thing with me. Let's say hypothetically, that's not a real sneeze, Rachel. Just let it out.
Adorable.
Okay.
Holy cow.
So
that was like a Disney princess sneeze.
Let's do a different number. Okay. Hypothetically, the seller owes $300,000. I do a second lien position, a private money loan for $200,000. And the house sells on auction for $700,000, $200,000 above what I'm owed and the bank is owed combined. Following me? Even me as a private money lender can't go grab that $200,000. I can take the $200,000 that's owed to me and I can charge reasonable fees called a credit bid. So my $200,000 plus attorney's fees, plus late payments, plus a hassle fee, blah, blah, blah. I might be able to put into a credit bid for like $230,000. And I might get $230,000 max, somewhere around there. Same thing with the bank. The bank is owed $300,000. They might get $307,000, $310,000, $312,000 for basically their hassle fees. They put in a credit bid saying the debt is $300,000, but we've got these other fees tacked on. The bank can't go, hey, state, hey, county, we're owed $300,000, but this was a pain in the butt, so we deserve all that extra $200,000 equity. Does that make sense? Okay, so that credit bid is very important. The debtor, okay, or I'm sorry, the creditor, the person who is owed the money, puts in a document called a credit bid saying, I am claiming that credit that is owed to me. So when somebody comes along and buys it, I get my money back plus my reasonable fees. Make sense? So when it gets sold over my reasonable fees and the debt, there's a chunk of money called overage. Okay. And or a lot of people call it the surplus. Okay. And I go after that surplus. It's a surplus fund. The state has a surplus fund that money just goes into. And what happens is that seller has no idea it exists. And you know how many people that work foreclosures have no idea this exists either? If you go into Subto, we have about 15 trainings in Subto. Go watch it on how to go get the surplus funds. It's all good. Christopher Craig focuses on this a lot. So I'd go talk to Christopher Craig in Sub 2. And what you can do is you can go to the seller and say, hey, the state owes you money. Can you sign this document that says I have power of attorney to go get that money for you? And I'm going to charge you 20% of whatever I receive. Now, I have done it in the past. And I feel bad doing this before I really realized what I was doing. I've done it where I told the seller, hey, give me $10,000 out of whatever we receive. I'll give you $10,000. I'll keep the rest. And the seller will say, well, how much is there? I'm like, I have no idea. And I don't know exactly how much until I go through the paperwork. And I find out I'm getting $120,000 check for a surplus fund and the seller's getting 10. So what I typically do now is I tell the seller, let's split 50-50. Whatever I receive, I'll give you 50% and I'll take 50%. Are you cool with that? And I sign an agreement, gives me power of attorney. It's a limited power of attorney that specifically gives me the ability to negotiate only on behalf of their surplus funds. And usually in your state, you'll have to look this up in your state. In Maricopa County, you have about 6 months.
Michigan, 6 months. Couple things. How much time do you have for that? That's
6 months.
Okay, so that's within that redemption. So if they actually have, it's within the redemption period from the foreclosure, right?
It's different on redemption. Here in Arizona and most states, you don't have a redemption period on a traditional foreclosure. You have a redemption period only on, a redemption period on taxes and HOA. If the mortgage forecloses on you, you don't have a redemption period in Arizona. Yes, Brent is saying we have two different types of auctions and most states have two different auctions. One is the state county courthouse steps, mortgages. The other one is the sheriff sells on auction, HOA liens, tax liens. That in Arizona has a 6-month redemption period. In Arizona, if you get foreclosed on with your mortgage, you get 0 redemption period. And most states also give 0 redemption period on a mortgage.
But 6 months from the date of the foreclosure.
Yeah.
It's all about getting the seller all their equity, discharging that. In most cases, isn't it that the bank usually bids on it and it's usually just a little bit over the mortgage?
But they can't hear you. Let's wrap up this and we'll finish that. Yeah. They can't hear
so
you. The real question though that I have is, I think the argument that they're making is when we go in and we go to the seller and go, you will get nothing if this forecloses.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie.
That's
the problem that they have.
That is true.
Because they're going, you will get nothing unless you sell your property now and prevent foreclosure. When you say that, that is the problem that they're having because they're tricking the homeowner into saying, you will get nothing out of this. You're going to get ruined by foreclosure. I'm the one to save you from this. This cash offer will save that. And you're going to get, you could walk away with $10,000 from me, or you could walk away with nothing.
Yeah, that is a lie.
And that is a lie. And I'm telling you, I would say 90% of the people that are going out there are saying that to foreclosure, to people in foreclosure. And I'm telling you, the states are going to have a big problem with this. And it's one case just dominoes the rest. You know what I mean? So you got to really pay attention to what you're saying to these property owners, because if you don't, and they go back and they start complaining that they didn't know that there was excess funds, they didn't know what they were selling or doing, or blah, 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 blah. That's when foreclosures really get tricky. Pre-foreclosures really get tricky in that sense. If there truly is a big amount of excess funds that they would get if it goes to the trustee sale. And I think the state has some incentive to keep that list pretty quiet.
Yeah.
And to hope that more properties do.
Yeah.
Not hope, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's more money.
Right.
More money.
Yeah.
Isn't this business so incredible that you can be in this business for 20 years and learn something new every single day? Like there's full on people that don't even know surplus funds is a strategy. It's a massive strategy. Go into Sub 2, watch the training, and then reach out to the people that are doing it. I love the strategy, but that is so true, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
There are people, as we wrap up, there are people that are going out and working foreclosures, and they don't know that what they're saying is incorrect.
Yeah, right.
But what you don't know will still hurt you. Imagine standing in front of a judge being Cameron, or as I like to call Sam and Cameron combined, Scamron. Sorry, Jamil and I have been not calling them that for like 8 or 9 years.
Cameron Bones.
Yeah, Scamron Bones. So the Scamron brothers, those guys know better. There are people that walk into this business that don't know, but if you get in trouble this way and you stand in front of a judge and you go, I had no idea. Are you going to have a speeding ticket by saying, I didn't see this? I didn't see the speeding sign. No, you got to get educated on foreclosures. And this is we will have some future guests breaking this down. Wholesale Hotline is the only place the attorney generals will show up and come in and love on us. I would also suggest you go watch Jerry Norton's video about this with Jeff, the attorney out of Texas. That's a good watch as well, highlighting the fact that it was not a sub-2 lawsuit, even though that's such a great thing too. People will use the word sub-2 and act like it's a sub-2 issue. It was not. But this business is the greatest business on the planet. Thank you for Jamil and Brent and Jerry for helping me get in this business. I love you guys.
Love you, bro.
You're the best.
Brent, what do you have going on this week?
Yeah, live show on Wednesday. Come join me. Brent Daniels YouTube channel. That is at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So there you go.
Jamil, what do you got?
Preparing for Squad Up, bro. Getting
Squad
ready.
Up Summit. Jerry?
Yeah, we're road tripping. We're going to drive out, I think, Wednesday and get there Thursday night.
Thursday night, you're going to be hanging out with Jordan Peterson, with me. And actually, the person I'm probably the most excited about meeting this year is Stacy Allison, the lady who is the first person to summit Mount Everest, first woman to have summited Mount Everest, and what she had to go through and the adversity and the disbelief that everybody in her life had towards her goal, and how she did not give up. She even had team members quit on her. She had coaches quit on her. She had so many people quit on her, and she just says, I'm not going to quit until I accomplish the goal. So super excited about meeting with her. She's speaking at our opening dinner on night 0. So I'll see you there, Jerry. Jamil and Brent, I love you guys. Appreciate you. Wholesale Hotline 263. That's over
263.
That's over 5 years.
That's right.
Y'all have had, we've all had babies since then. Love you guys. We'll see you guys later. Wholesale
guys next week.
We out. Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show. Yep. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say that thing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool.